morning, everyone. My name is Bonnie Schaff. I'm the Voter Services Chair for the League of Women Voters of LaPorte County, and on behalf of the League Board membership and our co-presidents, we welcome the candidates and audience members who are here tonight. Thank you all for coming. The League of Women Voters of LaPorte County is a nonpartisan organization. We encourage informed and active participation in government. We study and advocate for public policies. We reach out to the public with civic education programs and monthly lunch and dinner meetings with community leaders. We engage voters through candidate forums, voter registration drives, and with our online voters guide, www.vote411.org. We welcome women and men who want to assure that democracy works for everyone. And we are pleased to have as our co-sponsor this year on all of our candidate forums Access LaPorte County. And Drew White can't be here right now. He's going to join us later. But I wanted to just introduce Access LaPorte County, also known as ALCO, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization with a mission to strengthen the area's governmental, economic, educational, cultural, and social well-being by using technology to present and index accurate information and resources in LaPorte County and its communities. And these candidate forums will be presented live on Comcast Channel 97 and via Access LaPorte County Facebook page. And replays will be available on Channel 97, on Facebook, and on the ALCO YouTube channel, and also on the websites for ALCO and LWV LaPorte. Thank you. So anyway, be sure to check out our online voters guide, vote411.org. There you can apply to register to vote, although it ended today at noon. You can check your voter registration status. You can find your polling place and directions to it. You can read what you have to bring with you to vote and how to apply for an absentee ballot. You can also preview what's on your ballot on Vote 411, and you can read the survey questions which the candidates have answered, and you can compare their answers then. They all have the same questions for each race. If you find that some of the candidates on your ballot have not answered the Vote 411 survey, please encourage them to do so. Wednesday, October 12th, which is tomorrow, is the first day that early voting in person by absentee ballot, that's what it's called, is allowed in Indiana. Our LaPorte County website has on its homepage a schedule for all of the early voting times and locations, and also the schedule for the mobile voting unit schedule too. But I want to tell you right now, for early voting, it begins tomorrow morning. It's going to be available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and also from now until the day before the election. And it will also be available on Saturday, October 29th and Saturday, November 5th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. The locations are the LaPorte County Complex, right next door to where we are right now. That room is filled with voting machines. It's also available at the Michigan City County Office Complex at the corner of 8th and Wabash in Michigan City, Wanata Town Hall, and the former county library on Johnson Road at 400 North. October 27th is the deadline to apply at the county clerk's office for an absentee ballot by mail. Monday, November 7th at noon, early voting ends, and Tuesday, November 8th is Election Day. Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Be sure to take your state ID, state-issued ID, or your passport or military ID with you. You'll have to have one of those to be able to vote. And if you have any trouble finding your polling place, take a look again at Vote 411 or the Indiana election voters portal at in.gov. But whatever you do, be sure you vote. By voting, you participate in the democratic process. The right to vote is the most enshrined right in the Constitution. So whatever you do, make sure you vote. And we want to thank all of the candidates who are with us tonight. A few of them were unable to come, but most of them came. So, and the rules for this forum are as follows. The moderator and screeners will determine the order of presentations. Screeners are sitting at the table in the back of the room, and I'm the moderator. The candidates will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement, 1 minute to answer each question, and 1 minute for a closing remarks. In the interest of time, though, your number of questions you have may be limited. A candidate whose opponent is not present will still be allowed to answer questions, but all of our candidates that are present tonight, their opponents are present too. So the timer is sitting in the front row. We have a timer and an assistant. She will hold up that yellow card when there is, as a 15-second warning to you that your time is almost up, and then she'll hold up the red card when your time is up. So you'll have to stop talking then. Only written questions screened by the League's Voter Services Committee, the screeners back there, will be accepted. Press releases about this forum invited members of the public to submit written questions in advance by sending them to the League email. And I'm happy to say we received dozens of questions that way. But we also accept questions from those of you who are here in person tonight. There's someone walking around with, well, she's sitting right there, but she has a lot of index cards and pencils. So if you wish to write out a question, please raise your hand and she'll give you those, and then she'll pick up the question when you're done and deliver it back to the screeners table. The League expects courtesy to be shown to everyone. The League will not allow personal attacks, yelling, name-calling, or showing disrespect, and will interrupt or stop a candidate if needed while the clock is ticking. No outbursts or disruptions are allowed from the audience members, or they will be asked to leave. Please remember this is a forum, not a debate. If a candidate feels they need to rebut what their opponent said, they may wish to use part of their closing statement to do that. No visual aids or campaign materials are permitted. And audience members, please submit your questions at any time, including while the candidates are giving their opening statements or even answering questions. So, okay. And we're going to begin tonight with County Council District 1 candidates. And that is Mike Kellums, Democratic candidate, and Justin Keel, Republican candidate. Thank you for being here tonight. And the voters who live in District 1 will have to choose between them. And as I understand it, the voters throughout the county only vote for their own district council members. So those in District 1 will be voting for either Mike Kellums or Justin Keel. So we'll begin now with a 2-minute opening statement from Mike Kellums, the Democratic candidate for County Council District 1.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here tonight. I'm a lifelong resident of LaPorte County and a lifelong public servant. I served as a police officer at the County Police Department here for 32 years, retiring in 2018. Throughout my career, I was very involved and very active as a law enforcement officer. I worked my way up to the position of administrative captain and was involved in administrative duties within the department. I believe in public service. My life has been about public service. In fact, my campaign motto has been service over self, because I believe that that's what I was called to do, and that's what I hope to be able to do as a county councilman here in District 1 in LaPorte County. I believe that LaPorte County is a great place to live. I'm thankful for having been raised here. I'm thankful for having been able to work here and serve my entire adult life in this community. I believe that LaPorte County has limitless possibilities. I think our economic development is growing and expanding and get even better. There are things that obviously we need to work on, and I hope to be able to do that as a county councilman in District 1. I can't say enough about the League of Women Voters having this forum here tonight. I will tell you that one of the most frustrating things as a candidate is not having these opportunities to get our message out. So I'm very thankful for these opportunities. I'm thankful for the opportunity to run for this position and for you all to be here tonight.
Thank you. And Justin Keel, you may now give your 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you. As mentioned, my name is Justin Keel, and I'm the Republican candidate for County Council District 1. A little bit about me. I am currently the council president for the town of La Crosse. As it happens, yesterday actually marked my 8th year on the town council. I only get 2 minutes, so I have to be succinct, but during my time in office, we brought in over $10.3 million in grants and subsidies to our town. We have and continue to work on improving our utilities, our roads, our downtown, and the quality of life in our community. I know what it's like to sit down and write a grant at my kitchen table, but I also know what it's like to work with teams of talented individuals in order to get the job done. If elected, I'll be a strong partner for both our rural communities and larger municipalities, and I'll work collaboratively towards economic development, expanding housing options, and quality of life improvements. I have a deep appreciation for regional collaboration as the chairman of the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission. I preside over a 53-member council of governments that speaks for the interests of 750,000 Hoosiers in Northwest Indiana and oversees a $1.5 billion quadrennial transportation improvement program. I work hard to make connections and seek out new ideas that I can use to benefit my community and others in LaPorte County. Adding to my life experience, I am a small business owner and a journalist. As owner and publisher of the Regional News and the Westville Indicator, I work hard to understand and share what is happening in our county. I know firsthand the value of listening carefully, being balanced, and acting with integrity. I'll be the first to fight for transparency, and I'm willing to put in the work to get to the bottom of tough issues. I'll work hard to ensure our county employees receive competitive wages, and I'll encourage my colleagues to adopt a capital projects plan that outlines long-term expenditures for the county. I believe government should be responsible with your money and effective in its actions. I know that I come in a youthful-looking package, but public service is my passion, and I have years of experience successfully serving people throughout the 1st District. And I'd be honored if you placed your trust in me to serve you on County Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll begin with questions for Justin. First question. What will be different about LaPorte County government if you are elected to the office that you are seeking?
So I'm really passionate about our rural communities and really all municipalities throughout our county. And I look forward to being able to work with them closely on county government, to give them the resources and help them get over the edge to be able to do the projects that matter in their communities. I've worked through the South County Community Coalition to partner with our small towns and Southern LaPorte County to give them the advocacy they need and help push them over the edge. And I want to be able to continue doing that on county council. These sort of things are important to me, and I know that when we work collaboratively with other units of government, we're able to get more things done and benefit people in our communities even more.
Thank you. Okay, and Mike Kellums, a question for you. Why do you believe that you are the best candidate for the position that you are seeking?
I think probably my strongest suit is my lifetime experience that I've had. I commend Justin for the work that he's done in his life to this point. I think that it's admirable to be able to do that. I see a little bit of myself in him when I was his age. I have spent over 35 years working in public service. I've served in an elected office. I've served the interests of the citizens of LaPorte County in a variety of ways, always with trying to solve problems and be a problem solver. That's a lot of the role of a police officer, and I believe that I think that's probably one of my strongest suits on the council. I think I'm a good communicator. I think I'm level-headed, not willing to engage in partisan bickering, and I think those are some of the things that I bring to the table.
Okay, thank you. And Justin, another question for you. Are there any companies like Amazon or other distribution centers looking to relocate in Northwest Indiana, and what will LaPorte County representatives do to encourage that kind of development?
Well, I can say they don't tell me if they're planning on locating in LaPorte County, not in my position currently. I'm sure there's always large corporations that are considering this region as a possible location. We have an economic development department that specializes in these sort of things. I want to make sure that they are supported and have the tools they need in order to be able to attract large businesses and bring them to our county. I think that it's important for the county council to be a strong partner in that, to be there looking for what options, tools are available to help lure in economic development. And I think that's the situation we're in.
Okay, thank you. And Mike, this was also for a county council candidate. How would you address the problem of gun violence in our community?
Well, having been a law enforcement officer for my entire adult life, I've got a pretty good and unique perspective on that. One of the first things we need to do is make sure that we have an adequate law enforcement force. We've got what I think is approaching almost a crisis in emergency services in LaPorte County. I know that the county police department's down several employees. It's been an ongoing issue. It's tough to keep up with training. We have a younger and younger workforce. We're losing a lot of the older, more experienced officers, and I think that's something that we need to focus on. I think it's a problem that you can't point one finger at any one person. It's built over the years. I think that collaboration amongst law enforcement agencies is very, very important. As a councilman, I would support funding all emergency services adequately to make them the best trained and the safest in our community. I also would work very diligently in a bipartisan fashion with everybody on the council and commission to try and lower the crime rate and some of the violence that we see throughout LaPorte County.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see. Okay, Justin, your next question. How well do you think the finances of LaPorte County are currently being managed, and what can be done to improve them?
The area that I think could be improved the most is creating a system that is more easy for the average person in the public to understand. I know as someone who's been sitting in the audience for the last several years watching meetings or attending via Zoom, it can be challenging sometimes to understand what's going on. We don't get to see the full picture. There's a lot of discussions that happen outside of the meetings, as is sometimes probably necessary. I'd like to see us take a more transparent approach where we're making more of the documents that board members have available to them or council members have available to them available to the public so that they can come to the meetings and follow along with what's happening. I think that's the way that we can improve how things are being run. Make it so that people can understand more easily what we're doing and so that there's greater trust in the actions the council takes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and now, let's see. That was 3 for each of you, correct? I think I counted that right. And now, oh, this is it.
I had 2.
That's 4.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Okay, and Mike, this is a question for you. How do you intend to handle projects that are $150,000 or more? Currently, we know that there are contracts that are given without the bidding processes requested by SBOA.
Well, and I know that some of that is probably related to the project of the bridge up in Michigan City. I think that we have to follow the letter of the law. I think it's important, and Justin had mentioned it too, transparency is probably one of the most important things we can do as public servants, as a council. I think we need to be open with the citizens to make sure that they understand that. I think that a big part of that is communicating, making things like that available, but the bottom line in the question is that we follow the policies and procedures that are set in place or by state statute or what the SBOA has outlined for counties to be able to spend.
Okay, thank you. That is all the questions we have now for both of our candidates for County Council District 1. So, and now, Justin, would you please give your closing statement? 1-minute closing statement.
Well, I just want to make sure I get it out there that I really appreciate the league for putting on this event. These sort of things are important for voters, and I'm glad that you guys are willing to put in the work of putting on a forum like this. I want to try and touch on a few of the issues real quick that were asked of Mike that not asked of me. But I do appreciate the differing questions so that way people get to see a fuller picture. Staffing shortages was one of the things Mike talked about. That's important to me that we focus on making sure that we retain our employees, not just through competitive pay. That's absolutely important, but we should be looking at how we can make sure that this is a quality workplace for all of our county's employees so that they want to come to work here every day and they bring their friends and other people and bring them in here to work for our county so that we don't have this shortage when we're looking for new employees. I intend to be tough on crime, just like you pointed out, and when it comes to issues of contracting, I think we can actually go a step further than what the statute is and look for ways to be more creative about how we prevent conflicts of interest and competitive bidding so that people really trust our process. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mike Kellums, you may give your closing statement.
So the voters are faced with a difficult choice coming up in the election on November 8th. It always is. One of my biggest concerns is that we're not going to have a big voter turnout, and I think we absolutely need that for the entire county. I would hope that through forums like this, through some of the social media and some of the public media that we have an opportunity to be able to adequately express ourselves, answer the questions that need to be answered from the voters so that they understand they have a choice and what choice they're selecting is the best fit for sitting up here on the county council. I'm humbled to have this opportunity to be able to run. I'm thankful to be able to have lived a life of public service, and I want to continue that on the council. I hope that voters will take that into account come November 8th. I appreciate everybody's involvement. And again, I'd like to just close by thanking the League of Women Voters for hosting a forum like this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And you may stay there if you wish, or you can be seated in the audience again. Now we're going to move on to the next group of county council candidates, and that is Michael Rosenbaum, Republican candidate for District 4, and Lynn Spivak, Democratic candidate for County Council District 4. Thank you for being here tonight. And we'll begin with a 2-minute opening statement from Michael Rosenbaum, please.
Thank you. Right off, I will say thank you to the League of Women Voters. The gentlemen on my right have expressed exactly what I would do. It is forums like this that make a difference, and do appreciate having the opportunity to get my message across, even though I've been on TV for almost 4 years as the incumbent. Anyway, my name is Mike Rosenbaum. I've been married to my wife Dottie for 36 years. I knew her 10 years before that, so we've been around for a long time together. We have 2 adult sons who live with us right here in LaPorte. We chose LaPorte 12 years ago and live in one of the historic homes. That's one of our passions, and trust me, it's like a county budget. Every time something comes up, we have to try and fix it, and so we work on it. I serve as the VP on the council. I also serve as the secretary on the Redevelopment Commission and can add a lot of information to what had been shared. I'll get one of those questions. I also serve as the treasurer on the Fairgrounds Management Entertainment Corp. And it really is an overview and seeing what goes on at the fairgrounds. And you can see a lot of progress that we have been making with the buildings and even the grounds. And you're going to start seeing a lot of trees go up there soon. So you're going to start seeing a lot of things that are just going to increase our world and improve our life out there. When I'm not doing this as a council, I'm a CPA. I'm with a top 40 firm. And with my 40-plus years experience, I have the financial background to understand the complexities of what goes on the council, the different types of budgeting. Justin mentioned something about capital projects plan. I am so game on getting that program going. I really would like to see that part of our regular budget so that we don't just all of a sudden just start spending more than what we really have. When I'm not doing that, I substitute teach K through 12. I also was an associate professor at Indiana University. I've been involved with scouting most of my life, and I thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Okay, thank you. And Lynn Spivak, Democratic candidate for County Council District 4, you may now give your 2-minute opening statement.
I also would like to thank the League for inviting us to come tonight. My name is Lynn Spivak, and I'm currently working in a security office in Michigan City. I'm a lifelong resident of LaPorte County. I live in the city of LaPorte. The district that I would represent is District 4, which represents half of the city of LaPorte, all the way up north to Hudson Township, all the way down south to Johnson Township, which usually has about 100 voters. And there were always the best amount of voters that would come out to vote was Johnson Township. So I could possibly represent them in an agricultural area. I've watched a lot of council meetings. I attended a lot of council meetings in my past. I've always was inspired by the women who served on the council. One time, for 7 years, the employees of the LaPorte County government did not receive a raise. So every year, all the department heads and the elected officials would come forward with their budgets, and the council would say, no raises. We're inadequately financed to be able to give raises for 7 years. The employees stuck with us, though. We were able to continue all the work that the government needed to be done, and it was sort of great because there were some women on the council, so it wasn't just an all-man group that would look at things and saying, nope, we're unable to do this. But I'd like to put some diversity in the council by having another female elected. I think November 8th would be a great opportunity for people to vote. As in the past, the League of Women Voter has been an asset to the politics and the campaigns of LaPorte County candidates and plus to the public. Again, I'm Lynn Spivak.
Thank you. And now for questions for these two candidates. Lynn Spivak, the first question for you is, what do you consider to be the most important responsibilities that you would have if you are elected to the county council?
The budget. Okay, it's an estimated budget, an annual budget, possibly July, August gets put together. What type of funding will we have for the following year? It's a guessing game. Will people pay their taxes? Will people have mortgage foreclosures? Will there be people paying court costs? Will the officers be able to stop people for traffic tickets? Where's this money coming from? Will we have cars paying their plates, getting their tags for their plates? That will come from excise tax. Where's all this money coming? But it's an estimation. Possibly you could get 95% of the estimation. Otherwise, you might only get 85% of the estimation, then have a downfall of what your estimated budget would be. So my main thing would be is following the budget.
Thank you. And Michael Rosenbaum, your question, if you had to identify what you believe the most important issue facing LaPorte County, what would it be, and what will you do if elected to address that issue?
It's very difficult to narrow to one. I'm going to say that solving some issues in the economic development area, of which I've been working on the Redevelopment Commission. Housing is one of our biggest issues. We want to have a great workforce, but we need more people to improve that workforce so that we can bring more business here. It is a cycle that needs to happen. That is one of the key things for a long term of the county, and it's not just a one-year answer. So that would be my concern. The first concern would be to work with that, trying to find home developers or housing developers to come into our county and work with them to create affordable housing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And another question for Lynn Spivak. If you are elected, how will you support strong ethical standards and procedures in your office and in general all government offices?
That would be dealing with the elected officials and the department heads that the commissioners appoint. Every employee of the county should follow the same ethical rules. There should not be one that's at a higher level than another. If you're paid by the payroll of LaPorte County government, you follow the ethical rules that are put in place, possibly with the handbook. I haven't looked at the handbook for a while to know if there are already a section up here, if a chapter is specifically placed with that. So I would have to look that up.
Okay, thank you. And Michael, have you another revenue source in mind for the county that could replace riverboat monies?
There's always the thought of raising taxes, and that's not the way I would like to go. We had to resort to that this past year, in which we're already starting to feel a little bit of a tiny pinch of having the public safety local income tax increase. And we're actually allowed to go almost twice as much as we're at, and I really don't want to see it happen. I'd actually like to see how this works out and maybe decrease it in a couple of years when we know how the funding works. It was the only long-term solution to an immediate problem. It was brought up about the bleeding of the law enforcement. It wasn't just law enforcement. It was also EMS. And I'm going to tell you, I was one of the people behind pushing and prodding the council members to join me on giving them increases back in the spring. And then recently we gave large increases or planning it for 2023 for the Sheriff's Department, for 911, and that's coming out of the public safety lift, and we couldn't do it without it. And we just need the locals to do the same. And thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Lynn, this will be your final question. With the new TIF tax in LaPorte County, how do you plan to ensure that this new income is spent smartly?
It's a 7-member board, so that could be an interesting thing because it could be a 4-3 vote, or it could be a 7-0 vote on any proposal of a proposal to spend it. So I would have to be part of the informational part of it to understand it totally, to be able to vote nay or yay for the if there was a question on how to spend it.
Okay. Okay, and Michael Rosenbaum, this is your final question. What is the thing you are most proud of in your service?
I'm going to say that it's really working across the aisle, and that once I'm involved, the Republican tag goes off, and I work with Democrats. When I first got on, there was 2 Republicans, 5 Democrats, and was able to get things done because we talk, we communicate, and we look what's best for the people. And it's that type of experience and that type of brokering back and forth. And I take a high standard of staying away from some of the partisan politics that Mike had mentioned that he too, and I know Justin also does. And I don't want to, I'm not that person. I want to work, do what's best for the community. I'm service-minded. I served on a town council for 7 years in a very small community in New Jersey before moving here. So I know what it's like to have to really work hard to get your point across, be polite, and get the job done. Even if it's something you may not agree upon fully, it still can benefit everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lynn Spivak, Democratic candidate for County Council District 4. You may now give your 1-minute closing statement.
Again, I'm Lynn Spivak. I would like to represent LaPorte County Council, and as a female, I think the diversity on the council would be I'd have a adequate knowledge of previous government offices that I've held and the insides of where money comes from and possibly on how to spend it a little more wisely.
Okay, thank you very much. And so thank you, all 4 of you, and you may now have
Michael
a seat.
gets a
Oh,
closing.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, I should have looked at the bottom of
No,
this
that's okay.
page. Michael Rosenbaum, Republican candidate for County Council District 4. You may now give your 1-minute closing statement.
Thank you very much. I think experience matters. I also think knowledge of finance really matters. That way, things are reconciled, things are taken care of. You know where the money's coming from. There are several different funds. It was mentioned about the LIT. The LIT that we passed is limited on what it can be spent on. There are rules that we must all follow, so that's going to be easy to follow. The same thing with ARP funds. We were given a long list from the commissioners, and the council said no to over half of them because it was just what we deemed a waste of money. We wanted to make sure that things go and hit home to those that live here. We talked about, it was mentioned about the number of voters. We have 11 voting places, and there's only a few of them that less than 100 people show up at. We typically get anywhere from 10 to 12,000 votes. So I'm looking on November 8th for your vote, and I ask you, keep it going. Keep me in office. Keep the professional here to help you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, all 4 of you, for coming here tonight, sharing with us. And if you want to have a seat now, our next candidates are running for the office of prosecuting attorney for the 32nd Judicial District. And that is Sean Fagan, the Republican candidate, and John Lake is the Democratic candidate. If you'll take your seats up here. Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hey, John.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And we will begin with the 2-minute opening statement from Sean Fagan, the Republican candidate for prosecuting attorney.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Sean Fagan, and I appreciate this opportunity to be here tonight. Thank you for having me and broadcasting this on Alco and for able to answer your questions tonight. I'm the Republican candidate for prosecutor this year. I'm running because the job of the prosecutor is to lower crime in the county. As the chief law enforcement officer of the county, crime is the #1 responsibility of the prosecutor. We all know that crime is on the rise, especially in Michigan City. In our nation, crime has gone up. In our state, crime has gone up. And in our county, Michigan City, crime has gone up. As recently as this week, we had reports of shootings and arrests and violence in Michigan City. There was some news stories about that on Hometown News regarding arrests, regarding shootings, and a man today was arrested, or at least reported, within Hometown News. But good intentions, thoughts, and prayers, those are all good things, but it's not enough. Action is required. Action is needed, and action is what is lacking from this administration. Why? Crime is up. Crime is up. No matter what statistics may say, we all know anecdotally, crime is up in Michigan City. We need leadership, and LaPorte County needs the candidate and the party of law, order, and action. Thank you.
Thank you. And John Lake, you may now give your 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is John Lake. I'm the incumbent elected prosecutor. I've been doing this job for 28 years, and it's a job that you can't do if you don't have the experience to do it. First of all, I grew up here. I'm a lifelong resident. Been married to my wife. We met at Notre Dame Law School, went to Notre Dame undergrad. We've been married for 31 years, have 7 children. We've raised them in this community. There is one thing that I promised when I ran was to, 4 years ago, was to work with law enforcement. I've done that. I've shown that I've had the action, because one of the things that wasn't being done was filing cases that the police would bring to the prosecutor's office. And the number of filings, even though crime was going up between 2014 to 2018, the filings was going down by 25%. I ended that, and we went up with filings in 2019 to match the rise in crime. Since 2019, crime has gone down. Last year, he talks about crime going up. It went up 0.1% last year. It's down 12% on filings from last year. The job and the role of the prosecutor is to prosecute cases that are brought to you by law enforcement. I work day in and day and night with law enforcement. I take call and I deal with that on a daily basis. In fact, I was the one who just is on call this week and dealing with some of the arrests and investigations and search warrants. You can't do that if you don't have experience. I'm looking forward to answering any of the questions that are out there, but one of the biggest roles I had promised was to work on the mental health wellness court with my help of Mary, my chief of staff. She was able to collaborate with Circuit Court, and we established the first juvenile wellness court in the state of Indiana. And that's been successfully going for 2 years, and now we're looking to extend that into an adult mental health court. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And John Lake, we'll begin with you with the first question. What will your 2 top priorities be?
The first one is the fact that I want to, now that the Juvenile Wellness Court is going to be 2 years and be certified, once it gets certified, we want to then extend that into a mental health court for adults, because that's one of the biggest problems, and you hear that from the sheriffs and people just being that have mental health court, not having one and being housed and being arrested. The second one, obviously, anytime you're dealing with a prosecutor, you deal with crime. Crime is something that we cannot be effective as prosecutors without good investigations and without full police departments. One of the things that Mr. Kellums mentioned was we are at a crisis point. Our law enforcement agencies have been down over the last 4 years, and that has affected the ability to investigate crimes, and I think that's affecting the crime rate in Michigan City as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And first question for Sean Fagan. What are the most important issues in this race?
I would say that the most important issue is the rise of crime and the inability of this prosecutor, this administration, to deal with it in an effective way. There are a number of, when I'm elected, there will be a number of stopgap programs that have to be introduced in order to address the problems of rising crime, and you're dealing with crime on the rise, but a depleted law enforcement agencies within the county. So some things are needing to be happening in order to deal with that situation. So getting a hold on the rising crime with the rebuilding of law enforcement in this county, I think, is going to be one of the main challenges for this office.
Thank you. Okay. Next question for John Lake. How do you see the role of the prosecutor? Is it to win cases or to see that justice is done, even if it means dismissing a high-profile case?
The role of prosecutor is to do justice always. You always to seek the truth and to do justice. If your role as prosecutor is simply to win and all you care about is results, that's what happens when you see, like in Elkhart County, the exonerations that are going on over there of people that have been in it that were innocent and were convicted with false testimony and other issues. And you see that across the country. I will never do that. We're never going to compromise. If we find that we have charged the wrong person, we're going to dismiss the case, because you never want to put an innocent person in jail. That's your first ethical obligation. So they say that you'll let 9 guilty people go free because you don't ever want to put one innocent person in jail, because that's a bigger travesty of justice than anything else.
Okay, thank you. And next question for Sean Fagan. What is your management style? Will you hire experienced lawyers, decide the general policy, and leave the details to them? Or will you make all major decisions concerning each case and expect your staff to implement your decisions?
Well, I think it's a combination of those. I have an MBA in management that I received from Valpo, and my own life experience, having done multiple things in many different areas of life within radio, small business, large business, I find that it's a mixture of things. One, it very much depends on the situation. My plan, and I already have a good leadership team already in place, ready to go upon election or come January 1st. So these people will be experienced, and so my management abilities, my management skills, plus their experience, we're going to try to do our best in creating a team atmosphere that produces results, like I said, in reducing crime and creating efficiencies within the office.
Okay, thank you. Okay, John Lake, what are the most successful policies that you have implemented since taking office?
One of them was, well, first of all, the policies that I did was obviously the mental health court, working with JDI, which is the juvenile aspect of the and working with those, the outreach to make sure that disparate impact of minorities is not over the average of other communities. One of the first things I did was, as far as drug dealing, that we took and filed some of the first dealing-causing death cases in the state of Indiana, hold those people accountable for dealing drugs, because that's one of the biggest issues with fentanyl, and working closely with the sexual assault response team. I reconstituted that as a regional and from that, I was able to get Rape Crisis Center in Lake County to provide victim advocates that are on call 24/7 without any cost to our county. And also the Child Fatality Review team was very important in what we've done.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question for Sean Fagan. If elected, what policies will you change to improve operations?
One of the things that I feel that I need to do when elected will be a 6-month review of efficiency and the inner workings of the office. Any good manager, one of the things you do is to never make major changes from the outset. And so in order to create efficiency, in order to reduce crime within this county, I'm going to take at least 6 months to create new workflows, to imagine new workflows if needed, to do a tour around the office in order to find the best ways to maximize efficiency. So, as I mentioned, we can create results.
Thank you. Next question. This one was written for John Lake. Would you encourage the Michigan City Common Council to increase the fine for discharging a firearm in the city limits from a measly $100 to something more costly?
I can encourage them to do that. I think the more important issue is that we have had a criminal code that's been watered down. For example, I just signed information on a case which a person caused over $40,000 damage to a property, and it's only a misdemeanor. It's an A misdemeanor. And so people ought to want to complain about some of the issues, but there's not much we can do. When you fire a gun, it's criminal recklessness. It's a level 6 felony. They can go from 6 months to 2.5 years in jail. Now they finally, the legislature did something smart this year. They passed it so they can now finally sentence those people back to the prison. But before they couldn't do it, and that's how our jails got overcrowded. So yeah, I just met today with a couple of people from Michigan City about some of the issues, in the Pastors Alliance to deal with some of the things of how we can best address the gun violence in Michigan City.
Thank you. And next question for Sean Fagan. What is your take on repeat offenders? How do you plan to deal with people that are frequent guests at the county jail?
Well, one of the cases is to kind of build off on what Mr. Lake has said. One of the latest stories in Hometown News today was, I believe his name, Ramon Spirez, who was previously convicted of a number of charges, was facing major felonies, but that was plea agreement down to a B misdemeanor, 180 days time, and he was suspended. And then he was just recently arrested on criminal recklessness, level 6, and plus some probation violations. So that is usually in with any business, you have your repeat offenders are at the core of your business, and so dealing with that, being more aggressive in charging and more aggressive regarding pleas, I think will be at least one step toward dealing with repeat offenders.
Thank you. Okay, and John Lake, this is your final question. Drug courts and problem-solving courts have proven to be very effective in combating addiction, yet funding for these courts in Indiana is very sparse. If elected, what would you do to improve the funding of our county's problem-solving court?
Well, I support the drug court, which is your problem-solving court. I support veterans court, and these, the mental and the juvenile wellness court is also one of the ones that we got funding for. Mary helped, as I said, assist with that. It's something that you know, through grants and seeking other funding from the state, I think the ARP funds was a good choice to use for those courts, but they're very helpful. That's one of the things that really becomes to reduce recidivism. Somebody who's on drugs or has mental health issues, to solve those problems is one of the keys to getting rid of the people who are nonviolent criminals versus the violent criminals.
Okay, thank you. We did receive another question for each of you, so there will be one more. But Sean Fagan, this is your next one. How will you address gun violence in this county?
Well, as I mentioned in my prior answer regarding stopgap solutions or stopgap processes, part of what the great thing about the lit tax was that it will start funding additional police, but that takes time. And so working with police in order to bolster their numbers and plus appropriate charging, I think is the way to go. So part of, like I said, if you have more crime but less police officers, then you're going to have to create a balance so that your existing workforce doesn't become overburdened with their already heavy caseload. So looking at it using my managerial experience, like I said, part of that 6-month study in order to create results.
Thank you. Okay, final question now. John Lake, what about marijuana offenses that have put our people in jail? Will they be exonerated?
I don't make the decision on whether they're going to be exonerated. That comes at a higher level, at the governor's level and the president and the legislature. But I can tell you this, most of the marijuana cases, it's already been decriminalized. When you can have in your possession up to 9.99 pounds of marijuana for personal use, and it's a B misdemeanor, that's already legislatively been taken care of. There are no possession of marijuana people who are serving prison sentences. It's only people who are dealing marijuana that have been sentenced it, and normally those cases have been dealt down probably from methamphetamine to cocaine or fentanyl or something else where they also have marijuana in possession. So normally that's what those cases are going to deal with.
Okay, thank you. And Sean Fagan, your final question. Do you view drug abuse as a crime or as a mental health issue?
I think it's a combination of both. One of my, bringing my diverse experience, I used to do drug and alcohol counseling in pastoral ministry before law school. So I have a good understanding of the programs and steps, the 12 steps. And so it's a combination of the two. You have to use, like in 12-step, both the carrot and the stick in order to deal with it. So in order to achieve the result of sobriety. So as prosecutor, I think I can bring a unique understanding of the combination of drug abuse from a criminal aspect, plus the very legitimate mental health problems associated with it as well. And so it's a very nuanced kind of question and answer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both very much for your insightful answers. And John Lake, Democratic candidate for prosecuting attorney, you may now give your 1-minute closing statement.
Thank you. My name is John Lake, and I'm asking for your vote starting tomorrow through November 8th. The reason for that is that I have the experience to run the office for the next 4 years, like I've done this past 4 years. We have been very successful. I don't know where he says that we have the inability to deal with crime. I looked at some of the numbers, and we have a success rate of close to 89% on criminal trials, cases that go to trial. But when you factor in all cases that we filed and have been disposed of through pleas, it's over 99.995%. So we are very successful in what we do and how we handle our cases. And one of the interesting things, and I forgot to mention this before, I think the question about marijuana offenses was probably dealing with expungements, which we have very actively allow expungement. So that is within my realm. I would encourage those. But again, my name is John Lake. I have the experience. This is not a job you can learn on while you're on the job, and it's not something you learn by talking to somebody else about.
Thank you. And Sean Fagan, the Republican candidate for prosecuting attorney, you may now give your 1-minute closing statement.
My name is Sean Fagan, and most of the predecessors for Mr. Lake support me. That's saying something. They love this county. I love this county. You love this county. But we have a lot of things that we have to deal with. Words, good intentions, those are all great. Your heart may be in the right place. But if you don't produce results, you are wasting money, you are wasting time, you are wasting valuable resources in order to combat the real problem. Crime is on the rise. Whether you want to say it or not, it is going up. And if crime goes up, no one will want to live in this county. No one will want to work in this county, and a lot of the great things that we can do in this county will not happen if the prosecutor does not deal with crime. Crime affects everything we do, and if you don't deal with it, we all lose. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, both of the candidates for prosecuting attorney. Thank you for being here tonight and for your answers. Thank you. And the next candidates are running for the office of Sheriff of LaPorte County. So if you will come forward up here, I think we'll.
What's that? Oh, there's no more left. Those are for the people on this side. They're not for him though, right?
And these candidates are running for office of Sheriff of LaPorte County. Ronald Heeg is the Republican candidate, and Andrew Hynek is the Democratic candidate. We'll begin with a 2-minute opening statement from Ronald Heeg.
Good evening, everybody, and I also like to thank the League of Women Voter for hosting these candidate forums. It better allows the voter to go out and educate themselves as we head to the polls here in the next few weeks. My name is Ron Heeg, and I'm running for Sheriff of LaPorte County. I'm a 25-year veteran of the Sheriff's Office, beginning my career within the LaPorte County Jail. I've worked my way up through the ranks as a patrolman, a detective, a supervisor sergeant on the shifts, an assistant chief of detectives, and to my current role for the last 8 years of Sheriff Boyd's chief deputy. I've been active within the department. I served 15 years on the emergency response team. I was a 15-year certified scuba diver on the scuba team, and I was a 4-year field training officer. I've identified 3 strategic goals in my campaign as we move forward, the first one being public safety. Drugs and mental health are the 2 biggest factors that address us here in LaPorte County. My second goal is personnel investment. We live in a society where the average police officer lives to be 57 years of age, when the other Americans live to be 79 years of age. That's a 22-year gap that we've got to close. Suicide rates among police officers are twice that of the national average. If we have a mentally fit and a physically fit officer, we have a productive officer. And my third goal is community investment. Too often we ask our communities to invest into our police departments and our sheriff's departments, but it's a two-way street, and we need to be investing into our communities just as much as we ask them to invest in us. I'm active in the community. I serve as president of the board of directors for Grand Heritage Federal Credit Union, president of the board of directors for Stepping Stone Women's Shelter, and vice president of the LaPorte County Triad. I've been a Farm Bureau member since 2005, and married to my wife, Heather, and we have 2 daughters, Olivia and Allison. Thank you.
Okay, and first question. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm way ahead of myself here. Andrew Heineck, you may now give your 2-minute opening statement.
Okay. Hi there, I'm Andy Heineck. Again, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this. It's always important that voters can educate themselves both here in person and at home on TV. I'm a lifelong resident of LaPorte County. I grew up in the Rolling Prairie area, graduated from New Prairie High School. Following high school graduation, I went into the United States Army, where I served as a 62 Juliet, a construction equipment operator. Following my time in the military, I came home, went to college at Indiana University at South Bend, got hired at the Sheriff's Department, where I've been for 22 years. I've spent over half of my life working for the citizens of LaPorte County. I've been fortunate enough to work in every single division at the Sheriff's Department, from the jail division to the patrol division, the detective bureau, where I investigated crimes against the person, burglary, or against the property, burglary and robbery primarily. Following that, I went to the United States Marshals Task Force on loan from our department for 3 years, where I served high-risk felony warrants across northwest Indiana and the greater Chicagoland area. And then in 2017, we became a member of HIDA, where Sheriff Boyd entrusted me with running that division, a brand new drug task force countywide division. In 2019, I was promoted to captain, where I was transferred to the commander of the midnight shift, where I currently still serve with some of the hardest working deputies on the department. Like I said, I live in LaPorte County, out in the Rolling Prairie area. I serve on the boards for LaPorte County Small Animal Shelter, for the Boys and Girls Club of LaPorte County and LaPorte County Community Corrections. Once elected sheriff, I intend on reducing the recidivism in our jail, focusing on the mental health of both our offenders and our officers to make sure we're taking care of those who take care of us. And finally, I want to make sure that we adopt an educational approach to the heroin epidemic. We simply have too many folks dying from heroin. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll begin with questions for Andrew Heineck. First question is, and you have 1 minute to answer this, what is the number one priority you will address if you are elected sheriff?
Focusing on the mental health is my number one goal, both, again, with our offenders, ensuring that the folks that we're locking up in our jail belong in our jail, and we're not simply putting people there that don't belong there because of mental health issues. That costs us as taxpayers money, and we're not doing right by the individual. The second part of that is ensuring that we have a program in place to better take care of our deputies, both in the jail and on the merit side, as far as their mental health goes. You know, they're exposed to some absolutely horrific scenes and situations, both on the road and the jail, and we need to make sure that they're taken care of.
Thank you. And Ron Haig, your first question. Why do you believe you are the best qualified candidate for sheriff?
I think I bring a well-rounded balance of experience at the sheriff's office. As earlier I mentioned, my experience of beginning within the jail, then rising through the ranks, serving on some of the special teams, whether it be the emergency response team or the scuba team. And I bring a different perspective that I held administrative experience by serving with Sheriff Boyd as chief deputy.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay, and Andrew, how do you plan to reduce overcrowding in the jail?
That's a good question. And we're one cog in that wheel. I think the most important thing is that we have a really good working relationship with our prosecutor's office, as we currently do, along with the judges in the county, to ensure that the folks that are in there absolutely need to be in our facility. Again, each one of those offenders presents both cost and liability to us as taxpayers and citizens, and we need to make sure that those that are in there are being rehabilitated as a criminal justice system in America is founded on.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, Ron Haig, next question for you. What do you believe would be the best location for a new LaPorte County jail?
Well, definitely downtown LaPorte is not a great location for the county jail. But that's an easier question to ask and an easier question to answer, because I'm sure there's 110,000 people in LaPorte County that don't want it in their backyard. The unfortunate thing is going to have to go in somebody's backyard. I would probably like to see it to go into the area of the Summit Farm, as that sits between the two population densities of LaPorte County, that being Michigan City and LaPorte. There's plenty of space to expand as needed and in future roles.
Okay, thank you. Andrew, next question. Actually, this is going to be for both of you, because the person wrote, I would like to hear their opinion on Indiana's recently enacted constitutional carry or permitless carry law for carrying firearms. Your opinion?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so my opinion is I absolutely believe that we need to have the permits. That law was opposed by every single law enforcement association across the state of Indiana. The state police urged the governor not to sign it, and he still went ahead and signed it. And I'll tell you why briefly, and that's because on a local level, we know our citizens much better than the folks in Indianapolis did. Meaning that if I went to a call in the middle of the night, like we frequently do with somebody that's having a mental health episode, and we generate a report on that, and that individual gets some help, we get them to a hospital, but the next week they come to the sheriff's department, they want to get a handgun permit. Prior to this, we were able to flag them for the state police to look at it and say, let's take a second look at this, where now we don't have that. We don't have that checks and balances. I'm not a fan of overcharging people and trying to make a bunch of money off of permits, but I think for the mental health checks and balances, we need that.
Okay, thank you. And Ron, same question. They would like to hear your opinion on Indiana's recently enacted constitutional carry or permitless carry law for carrying firearms.
I would also agree with Captain Hynek that I'm not a huge supporter of it as well, and there's several factors for that. One is I would say that there's a safety issue for the officer. Right now, or when we had the permit carry, when an officer would stop you and run your driver's license, it would come back that you were legally able to carry that firearm. So the officer knew that. Now, if an officer stops an individual and he's carrying a firearm, he has no reason or no way to tell if that individual is legally able to carry that firearm or not. My second reason for that is, as Captain Hynek said as well, there's a vetting process that used to go on with the permitting process. Although we would reject few, we still were able to red flag and reject a couple of them. And my third reason would be for reciprocity reasons. You know, it's easy for downstate legislators to make things that don't affect us border counties, but what about the individual who travels to and from and back and forth to Michigan or Illinois? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question for Andrew Hynek. Over the past 8 years, Sheriff Boyd has always spoke very proudly about the K-9 deputy program at the LaPorte County Sheriff's Office. Explain what this program is all about, and if you plan on continuing to facilitate this program when you become the new sheriff.
Good question, and absolutely, and I would say beyond Sheriff Boyd's 8 years, I think the 22 years that I've been on the Sheriff's Department, we've been fortunate enough to have a very active and very good canine program. In fact, I can't tell you of a handler that we've had that hasn't been dedicated and put a lot of their own time, work, and money into that program, and I absolutely plan to continue that. There's a lot of dedication that goes on behind the scenes, a lot of training that goes on behind the scenes, and we have a lot of public support in that. We get a ton of donations that help fund that program, and that's something that I wholeheartedly will continue.
Thank you. And this one is for Ron Haig. How do you balance compassion and toughness in the way you view your role?
Well, I think just as a police officer in general, not just being a sheriff or a chief deputy, just as a police officer in general, there's always that fine balance. You know, how do you treat somebody with empathy, but you also still got a job to do. You know, the people of the county entrust you to protect them and to make sure that they're safe. So it's a fine balance. You know, show a little empathy, but also to do your job and do it correctly.
Okay, thank you. Next one for Andrew Hynek. I have heard LaPorte called a car culture. Police do not seem to pay attention to speeders and breaking speed limit signs, especially through the parks. What can be done about this?
Well, as far as the sheriff's department goes, we don't have a whole bunch of parks for folks to speed in. Most of our parks just include parking lots, but not through streets. But in general, speeding is the #1 complaint that probably any law enforcement agency across the country gets. And I can tell you, without a doubt, our deputies are out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year enforcing the laws. Unfortunately, what happens is folks look out their window and don't see a policeman drive by and say, well, there's never a policeman here. Again, I'm the commander of the midnight shift from 10 at night till 6 in the morning. I work with some of the most aggressive young deputies on the department, and they're out there all night long stopping cars on US 20, US 30, US 35, Fail Road, all of our major thoroughfares to ensure that people are safe. That's something we'll continue, and we'll continue to use some of the grant programs from the Criminal Justice Institute that assist us with that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for Ron Haig, do you have ideas about how we might better prepare jailed inmates to return to private life and reduce recidivism?
Yeah, I think there's several opportunities and several things that we can do. We can bring some of our church organizations back into the jail and do some mentoring programs with them. We struggle a little bit because the average misdemeanor offender stays a whopping 15 days in the county jail. A felony offender stays a whopping 45 days in the county jail. So it's hard to tackle some of these bigger issues when they're in and out so much. But we can begin some mentoring programs, bringing some of the clergy, bringing some of these teachers and instructors to come in and help mentor these men and women.
Okay, thank you. And final question. Final question for Andrew Hynek. Over the past 8 years, we have heard Sheriff Boyd complain that the LaPorte Sheriff's Office is short-staffed and lacks manpower. Please explain what somebody has to do if they want to become a LaPorte County Sheriff Deputy, and what is the starting pay?
So we're always hiring. They can come down to the front desk of the Sheriff's Department, or they can go to the website for the Sheriff's Department and apply. One of my ideas is to partner with some of our organizations like Ivy Tech that have a criminal justice program, and the A.K. Smith Center that have a criminal justice program, and reach some of their resources, folks that are interested in the Criminal Justice Institute. But the starting salary, starting January 1st anyways, will be approximately $55,000, the way that it's slated with the new tax.
Okay, thank you. And Ronald Haig, your final question. Currently, LaPorte County Sheriff's Office and the surrounding agencies operate off of interactive RMS, and under the current administration, the reports have been restricted, which no longer allows for information sharing between the law enforcement agencies. Will you change this practice and allow info sharing?
I think we need to understand why some of this report and communication was locked down. We were finding that in some of our critical incidents or some of our sensitive cases, there were just too many individuals that were so-called prying or being nosy to see what was going on with a certain case or what happened at a certain case. So I think there needs to be some confidentiality, and there needs to be not so many individuals trying to just be nosy and see what's going on. So at this point in time, I support that we have locked down the RMS reporting for those reasons.
Okay, thank you. And now for Andrew Hynek, you may now give your 1-minute closing statement.
Well, I'm Andy Hynek. I would ask for your support starting tomorrow through November 8th. Once elected sheriff again, I plan to reduce the recidivism amongst our inmates, focus on the mental health, and foster an educational program to help with our heroin epidemic and our drug addiction overall. Currently, I've been endorsed by the Indiana State FOP, Michigan City Firefighters Union 475, LaPorte County Star Pulaski Building Trades Union, and Labor's Union 81. And I think those are all important endorsements because they're not political endorsements. They're simply endorsements from neutral organizations of fellow first responders and the blue-collar working crew. Again, Andy Hynek, and I would ask for your support on or before November 8th.
Thank you. And Ron Heeg, you may now give your final 1-minute closing statement.
Thank you again. I'd just like to thank everybody for being here tonight. Again, my name is Ron Heeg. I'm a lifelong LaPorte Countyan, born and raised specifically in the Michigan City area. I'm raising my family here. I've been dedicated to the job for the last 25 years. I'm often asked as why I'm running for sheriff, and that answer is pretty simple. I have a firm belief that if I'm given something, you return it or give it to the next generation in better shape than it was given to you. And that's my big goal here is when my time is done at the LaPorte County Sheriff's Office, I want to be able to turn the LaPorte County Sheriff's Office and LaPorte County into the over to the next generation in better shape than it was given to me. I would appreciate your support between now and November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, both of you. We also invited Jim Pressel, Republican candidate for State Representative District 20. He's unopposed on the ballot, and he is not here tonight unless he snuck in after we started. Guess not. This concludes this candidate forum sponsored by the League of Women Voters of LaPorte County and Access LaPorte County. We remind you again to look at our online voters guide, www.vote411.org. And please remember, democracy is not a spectator sport, so be sure to participate in our democracy by voting. We thank you all for attending this forum tonight. Thank you. Good night.